Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu, and today's episode is episode 99 of the Fit 15. I'm super excited to introduce you to my guest today and to get ready to celebrate the end of a successful season 1 of the podcast with you tomorrow. And for those of you who haven't been tuning in the last few days, and that's complete brand new news to you, I want to remind you to subscribe to the podcast because we are taking a break in between our first season, which will end with episode 100 tomorrow, and our second season, season 2, which will be released in August of 2018. So subscribing is going to help you remember to tune back in when we go live with the new season. And for those of you who haven't been listening to the last few episodes either, I want to invite you to send me an email with any requests for topics and guests you would like to have me bring on during season 2. So you can do that by going to fitarmadillo.com/podcast to check out the other episodes all in one spot, and then also emailing me podcast@fitarmadillo.com to share your requests. And while you're at that, you could also leave a review on iTunes and or Stitcher to make my day. Speaking of reviews, I want to give a shout out to our most recent reviewer, 250 and Beyond, who gave us a 5-star review, thank you, and said, "I love the simplicity of this podcast and the value that is packed in. I always learn something new and connect with so many of the topics." Well done, Catherine. Thank you so much, 250 and Beyond. I really appreciate the review, and I think you are my podcast guest, Lori. So those of you who didn't get to listen to Lori's episode, I invite you to go check that out. And then also Lori's podcast, she has a podcast show called 250 and Beyond. So hope you get to enjoy that. And her Instagram page is full of inspiration. And she does have some great programs coming up in July, so you can definitely check that out. Speaking of programs, we have a live online group fitness class happening tonight. I'm not sure if there are still spots left because, believe it or not, I'm not recording this intro on the same day as the podcast is released. But you can head on over to fitarmadillo.com/classes to see if you can save yourself a spot. These classes are done over live 2-way video chat, so you can enjoy them from anywhere in the world as long as you have a strong internet connection. And the classes are capped at 11 participants, so you'll still get feedback on your form and be held accountable since it's not a huge class. So I hope you get to check that out. Those classes are being held by our sponsor, Fit Armadillo, and we have a class tonight like I shared, but we'll also be hosting classes in July. So that's what we'll be up to when we're not releasing new podcast episodes, and we hope that you will check those out and they'll help you stay motivated and help you work on some other aspects of your fitness. If you join us and walk with us during episodes of the Fit 15, you might not be doing any strength training just yet, but that's what those classes can help you work on. So hope you get to check those out. And let me get back to today's episode, episode 99, and my guest. So who is my guest today on the Fit 15? My guest today is Sunit Suchdev. Sunit is a podcast host herself, a life and wellness coach, a speaker, and published author. She's passionate about inspiring health and wellness in moms so they can rise up and raise amazing kids while changing the world. She believes that healthy, happy moms raise healthy, happy kids and encourages women to pursue excellence in all areas of mind, body, and soul. She is a mindset maven who is constantly challenging her clients to own their destiny and loves leading by example in her own life. She lives with her amazing husband and twin boys in Vancouver, Canada. Sunit, welcome to the Fit 15. I'm so excited to have you as my guest today.
Oh, thanks so much for having me.
So you're a mom of twins.
Yep.
Which is impressive.
Well, thank you.
So a lot of times I'll have clients who want to work with me to find out how to, bounce back from even having just one child. So could you talk to us about your journey of having twins and then, kind of bouncing back and trying to get your body back for our listeners?
For sure. So I just want to start off by saying that mindset is really important here, right? I mean, for me, I had always kind of been into health and fitness and, had a certain, I guess, physically what was acceptable to me in terms of how I live and how I present myself. And I just knew that when I had kids, especially once I was going to have twins, that my body was going to change and that I would probably need to put in a lot of work to get it back to where it was. And there are a lot of people out there who would say, don't put so much pressure on yourself and, maybe moderate your expectations a little bit. And so for me, there was really that mindset piece that had to come into play first to really remind myself of why it was important to bounce back. And it's both the physical and the health aspect of it for me. I didn't want to lose myself in motherhood. And part of that self is the person who cares about her health, the person who cares about getting in the physical activity, the person who cares about, the physical appearance. And I think a lot of people feel ashamed in putting that out there and saying that, they don't want to say that they want to bounce back, or if they say they want to bounce back, there's somebody right there telling them that they should, moderate their expectations a little bit. So I want to start off by saying that if that's something that's important to you, then decide it's important to you and it's okay. It's okay to put things in place while you're pregnant or shortly after to really bounce back, quote unquote, or to get back to who you were before you had kids. So that was really, really an important piece for me. And then after that, it was really just understanding what having twins was going to do to my little body.
Sure.
Because I'm carrying 2 humans and I was stretched out to the max. And not only that, but I had a C-section as well. So there was some major surgery there. And so I was actually not able to work out right away. It took months for me to get to a place where I could kind of do any kind of physical activity. But my journey really involved a lot of self-care in the beginning, just asking for help when I needed it, making sure that I was nourishing my body with healthy food.
Hi, friends. As I mentioned in the intro, I have created this podcast to help you get moving. So that little soundbite is your halfway point reminder. If you are joining us for a 15-minute out and back walk, you want to turn around now. All right, back to our conversation.
I think part of bouncing back and getting your body back is just being really mindful of what you're eating, because you're eating for yourself and for your babies if you're breastfeeding.
Sure.
And it's easy to reach for the easy food, right? So for me, it was really all about just eating real food. Just anything, like I tell my kids now, that grows on trees and plants and in the dirt is real food, and that's healthy for you. So just minimizing the packaged stuff and eating the real food, and really letting everybody around me know that that was important to me. So if somebody's going to bring me a meal, I want them to know that it's important to me that I'm eating real food and not packaged food. And if my husband's going to make me food, I want him to know what my goals are. So I think that's an important piece as well. And then just when I finally was able to start moving again, there's a couple things that really helped me, just being that mom of twins and always having very little time for myself. There was a couple things that really helped me. One of them was Tabata workouts, which are just quick. I'm sure you know what those are. It's like 4-minute bursts of exercise, right? Where you're doing like intervals. So you're doing 20 seconds of a hard interval, 10 seconds of rest, and you're repeating that 8 times. And when somebody says to me, I'm a busy mom, I don't have time to work out, I ask them if they have 4 minutes. So So I had a skipping rope, with me on the main floor here at all times. And when I had that 4 minutes, I'm just getting in a Tabata workout. And if that's all I can do that day, that's okay. And if I can do another 4 minutes throughout the day, then that's great too. And I just found not only, because those short bursts of exercise burn a ton of calories, but they also give you energy. Like when you just like drop and start working out, like you're skipping rope hard for 20 seconds and just resting for 10, and you do that for 4 minutes straight, it instantly gets the hormones going, right? So you've got that instant burst of energy. So that really helped me just in my mom life as well. And then also physically with my tummy, which is a big thing for moms.
Right. No, for
I
sure.
had learned that oftentimes you will develop a diastasis, which is a split of those abdominal muscles because they get stretched so far. And so I had learned about belly binding and something called the Tupler technique, which is exercises you can do to pull those muscles back together. So right from day one after I had my kids, I was binding my tummy. You can buy belly binders or, those Velcro wraps that go around your waist to really pull those muscles back together. Not only that, but to support you, like to support your insides that have been stretched out and maybe are not quite back in place yet.
Sure.
And it really helps you do the exercises without feeling like your stomach and your insides are going to fall out, right? Because you're still putting everything back in place. So the binding was very supportive. And then also the some of the exercises from the Tupler technique were things that I incorporated, which are very easy to do. Even just like a lot of them are just like when you're just sitting. It's not even something that you have to like get into a gym for. And I actually was lucky enough on my own podcast to interview the creator of the Tupler technique, Julie Tupler.
Awesome. Yeah.
And so if your listeners are interested in hearing her talk about the specific exercises, I can send you the link to that podcast episode, but it's a podcast over on Modern Mommy Prep School that they can find and listen to with Julie Tupler.
Yeah, because I definitely have, a lot of new moms, and I find that either listeners, friends, or clients, and I just find that, you can get the clearance from your doctor that you're ready to go and start exercise again, but you might have that ab separation and either not realize it or not realize that doing regular like things like crunches or whatever you would do before are not appropriate and could make things worse. So it's good to have that resource for sure.
Exactly. Like you said, a lot of doctors will say, yep, go ahead. It's okay to exercise. I mean, even my doctor I had a C-section and he told me, after about, give yourself 6 weeks. And after about 6 weeks, you'll be fine to work out. That was it. He never told me anything other than that. And to be honest with you, 6 weeks post C-section, I was not ready to work out.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. You've got to listen to your body. Don't push yourself, right? So for me, it took longer than 6 weeks to get to a place where I felt like I could sustain any kind of, exercise. But those diastasis exercises that help pull your abdominals together, I was able to do those like literally right out of the hospital because they engage your very, very deep core muscles and they don't really, they're not really requiring anything else of you. So you can like literally be just doing those while you're sitting or laying down. And like you said, a lot of times you don't even know if you have a diastasis. So learning how to check yourself for that is so important. I know so many women now who are 3, 4, 5 years out post-baby who didn't know about that, who were not checking themselves for the diastasis, who don't understand why their mummy tummy won't go away. And now they're under the care of like a physiotherapist or somebody else who specializes in pelvic floor because somebody, wasn't there to guide them or give them that information ahead of time. So it's really important that women understand that this is a thing. It's very common. It happens. And being prepared for that is so important.
Yeah. And realizing, kind of like you said, listening to your body and realizing that that's something that you can work on. Really, I mean, any of us could be using those techniques, whether we've had kids or not, like those are really good things to work on just to support, because you could have issues, down the line, especially us women, even like incontinence issues that, doing those exercises could help prevent, right? So
absolutely.
Very cool. So you were able to start off with those and you have the Tabata techniques to help keep you going when you have like a short amount of time. Any other insights or tips? I mean, I definitely want to highlight the fact you mentioned that what you're eating is so powerful because that can affect your mood and your mindset as well, right? We don't always think about that, but I love that you mentioned that was a big thing that you focused on.
Yeah, I think once you have kids, I mean, I've always been conscious of healthy eating, but the more you kind of live through life, the more you learn. And, when you have kids, you really start to pay attention. Like when I was pregnant, I was really paying attention to what was going into my body more than ever. And then after I had kids, it was like even more attention to what I was eating. And I realized that I didn't want to raise picky eaters. I wanted to raise kids who liked liked broccoli and liked eating healthy food. So it was important for me to be eating that stuff more and more. And so, eating real food. And, now just as life has gone on, I see that it is really the answer for so many things that ail us in life. Whenever anybody comes to me with any kind of emotional issues or physical issues, the first thing I want to say is, what are you eating?
Yeah.
Like, let food be thy medicine and thy medicine be thy food, right? I mean, and that is really where it all stems from. So yes, exercise is important. Yes, all of those things. But if you are consuming real whole food and getting most of your nutrients that way and minimizing the stuff that comes in a package, you're going to take care of probably like 80 to 90% of your problems, and the weight will take care of itself. People talk about dropping the baby weight and all that. I mean, that will just melt right off. It's not a diet. It's just a way of life.
Right. Which can be hard. I mean, when you don't have as much time, preparing food, but I had a personal chef on who talked about just some tips for, prepping like a personal chef to save time. So just knowing about those resources to make it easier can be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not hard to eat healthy. I think it's hard to wrap your head around it when you have not been doing it that way. But there are definitely like little hacks, and I'm sure the chef that came on shared some of those with you. Just ways you can be prepping your food so that, like just now, right before I actually hopped on with you, I threw some beets in the oven and they're roasting. It's like, so easy, and they'll be ready for dinner tonight. I'll slice them up and throw them in with some spinach and some, a little bit of feta cheese. And like, it's not hard to make a meal out of that with some nuts. And it's just, you have to be open. Again, mindset, right? You have to be open to it.
Yeah. And I don't know, because I try with any of my clients to have them focus on mindset and like their reason for wanting to make a change. But do you have any like insights and tips on that, how to tune into either your why for making a change or just to be more mindful, or anything else that you've kind of come across in your journey?
Well, you know what? I think, and I'm a life coach for moms, and this is what I always say, it starts with self-love, right? You have to prioritize yourself. And if for some reason you find yourself falling down that same hole over and over, where you just can't get up the motivation or the drive to take care of yourself, then you really need to dig deep and find out why you are lacking in that self-love. Because even when you're a mom, a lot of moms love to, play the mommy martyr and like, I'm so busy and I don't have time for myself, and I don't have time for the self-love and the self-care. But at the end of the day, you have to prioritize yourself, because you can't show up for your family if you yourself are not healthy and happy and full. And so I think the most important thing to do, especially when you're a mom, and this is so hard for those women, you have to prioritize yourself and really love yourself enough to nurture your body and your mind and your soul, so that you can give your family the gift of a happy, healthy, together mom. Because if you're not in that place of health and happiness and wholeness, and you're not driven to kind of do that, you're constantly going to be putting yourself on the back burner. It's going to catch up with you eventually.
Sure. And just being a good role model, right? Like, kind of modeling what you want your kids to, how you want your kids to treat themselves when they become moms, if they do, right?
Exactly. That's I'm so glad you said that, because that is always a really powerful message. It's like, you have to model that for your kids, right? Like I see so many moms who are in this place right now of just, they've completely lost themselves. And I always ask them, is this what you want for your daughter? Is this what are you modeling for your kids? And it's so important to show them how to show up for themselves in life. And that's why it's so important that you prioritize yourself and your health and your wellness, because you may not think it's affecting you right now, but it is.
Yeah,
it's gonna catch up with you.
That's true. No, very true.
Yeah. So self-love, I think, is just the number one step. If you're having a tough time with your mindset, and you're having a tough time taking those steps if you can't find 4 minutes in your day to work out, right? Or you don't feel that motivation to eat healthy, then there's that self-love piece missing there. And you got to dig deep and maybe, think back to where you lost that, or maybe you never had it.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
maybe it wasn't nurtured and cultivated in you. Maybe you didn't grow up in a home where your mother modeled self-love. So sometimes there's some deeper pieces missing that you really need to work on.
Sure.
Yeah.
I love that. So maybe just to wrap up, we could share, I'll put this in the show notes, but how can people connect with you, and what might you be able to help a mom listening work on, just to let them know about that a little bit more?
Well, first of all, I mostly live on Instagram right now. It's kind of like my
Okay. Yep.
favorite place. I just love Insta. So I'm there. I'm posting inspiring and motivational kind of little mini blogs on my Instagram page. And then people can come follow me and watch my stories. I do share on a daily basis my behind the scenes life of
Got it.
how I cook my food, how I get my kids eating healthy. I taught my kids to meditate. I love to just share little pieces of my life and how I practice self-love and self-care and health and wellness as a mom. So that's kind of the number one, probably easiest way people can connect with me. And I do have a podcast. It's called Modern Mommy Prep School, where we kind of interview various experts and guests on how to live that high vibrational mom life in all areas of health and wellness. And then I've also got my website, Suchdev.com. People can kind of come over there and be connected to all the different pieces. I've got a video log that I'm going to be launching called 40 and Such for women entering their 40s. So they can connect with me that way through 40 and Such. They can connect with me through my podcast, but Suchdev.com will also get you to all those different places. But I'm Sunit Suchdev on Instagram as well.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your journey. It's been great connecting with you, and maybe we'll have to get you back sometime,
I would love that. Thank you for having me. And yeah, this stuff's my jam, so I'm happy to come back anytime you want me.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.
Hi friends, it's Catherine, and I'm butting in here again to remind you of two things. One, we have a live online small group fitness class happening tonight over at Fit Armadillo, which is my fitness company and the sponsor of the Fit 15. So if you have not tried a fitness class with us at Fit Armadillo, go check that out. If you can't make it tonight, you can also go to that same page, fitarmadillo.com/classes, the sign up page, to check out classes that are being offered in July when we will be on break for the podcast. And one last reminder, tomorrow's episode is our last new episode for season 1, episode 100. So you want to make sure you subscribe. And while you're at it, leave us a review so that you don't forget to tune back in and that other people can find the show. Thanks so much for being a listener. I greatly appreciate you, and I hope to chat with you tomorrow if you subscribe to the show. Bye.